Bd4 Daironex Story and Guidance. The Magical Counsel, 4 out of 32. Daironex, the guiding force of the true disciple. The guiding force of the true disciple. Follow your teachers and teachings of your master. Quote, "Ye cannot serve God and Mammon." Matthew 6:24. Daironex Story. Hi folks, I am Daironex, and I would like to tell you first a little about myself. I represent the guiding force of the true disciple, although I do not consider myself a true disciple or a good follower because I constantly fall and struggle in this mission. My master, Mariah Morrow, tells me, however, that as long as I keep on struggling and falling on the path regarding listening and following and trying to become a disciple, that I'm okay. I really want to become like my master, who in my eyes and opinion has achieved union with Kandu, the creator, and lives in his will, and I consider him the true disciple. Throughout our life we meet many different masters, teachers and guides, and looking back in my life, the first person I wanted to be like was my dad. But that then slowly changed, and I wanted to be like my sport teacher, then my art teacher, and then later I wanted to be like my hero in the movies, and many others followed. I ended up in my life having seen and done so much, but still feeling that I was missing something. That's something that would bring me some real peace, love and contentment. And that was the time I met Mariah Morrow. He showed up in my life and revealing things which I knew deep inside of me, but which I had not worked on. Mariah explained me that I was a crystal child of life, a soul that once lived in the ocean of love with Kandu, the creator. He told me that which I was looking for I would not be able to find in the world, but only when I would walk the path and the adventure to find that soul within me and Kandu, the ocean of love. When I met him, I instantly knew, and don't ask me how and why, I just knew, and there was no doubt that Mariah had found all that within himself. He vibrated at peace, love and contentment, and I asked him if I could become his pupil, follower, or in other words, a disciple. He became my spiritual mentor and master, and I can tell you, compared to all the masters I had had in my life, he was the most loving, but also the most toughest. Often I told Mariah that I loved him, and he, smiling and responding that the only way to love him is to show my love in action, meditating and living as a true disciple. Often I told him that I believed in him and Kandu and the path, and he telling me bluntly, "You're not. Believing is not knowing. You must prove it to yourself. God is not just a concept or great idea, but the only real thing there is. And to find this out, one must live the teachings implicitly. It requires a complete lifestyle to follow the real teachings and to become a disciple. It is a path that slowly changes from believing in the master, the soul and Kandu to realizing that this all is inside of yourself. Only when we have truly discovered, or better said, rediscovered these objectives, can we experience this bliss on the inside, and all the outer attractions just fade. I can tell you that it is not easy being around the person you want to be, as you are confronted constantly with your shortcomings. Many times I thanked him for everything, and he responding, "Thank Kandu," and you know how to thank him. Everything always boils down to meditation, silent prayer, and working at being a true disciple. Mariah doesn't want to be worshipped or looked upon as the one who knows. He always refers to his teacher and to Kandu, although I think He does know, but then being that close to him, he is just like any other person. He disguises himself, and then suddenly he surprises me out of the blue and reminding me again. You want to ask him for things? But then again, why would you ask anything from someone who knows you better than you know yourself? A spiritual teacher is a great giver, and we are poor beggars because we always ask for the things that not help us on our inner journey. We want the comfort of the world, which we have to leave behind one day. When I asked Morayo Amoro to become his student, he confronted me with all my fears I was not even aware of. He mentioned that Kandu is only love, and that fear is one of the best distractions keeping us away from that love. I wanted to leave my job to make this all into top priority, but he told me to continue my life and obligations in the world. He explained me that my life would not become easier, that I needed to grow in my awareness about everything, and in order to test my awarenesses, my challenges in the world would be that test. He told me that I had to accept who I am, what is happening in my life, and what is happening around me in the world. He used the words that I had to accept my book of life. It is definitely not easy to accept everything that happens which affects us immediately, or things that are happening somewhere else in the world although not affecting us immediately. However, when we do not claim that we wrote it all, we stay victims and making others into victims as well. When you have a hard time to connect with this, Morai told me to accept all as if it was written by Kandu, the one who knows how to write the perfect book, and for the reason to wake us up and to get us home. We all look for reasons from a worldly point of view regarding why things are happening in life, but maybe it is all written by ourselves or Kandu for a higher purpose. Our book of life can also be compared with a script we have to read in the movie on the stage of the theater of life. And most of us are complaining and not accepting our scripts, and looking to others if we think they have a better one. However, asking others if they are completely content and accepting their script, we will get the answer that they are not fully content and accepting their script and are wishing and look for different things to happen as well. So when do we finally start our adventure in life without all the complaints? We cannot wait until others accept their script, and we have to stop hoping, wishing and dreaming for another script. Someone needs to start the show. When we do, we start discovering an interesting adventure where we play the main character and characters, guided by ourselves on the inside, the director character. Let's visualize that we are on the stage, the theater of life, and Master and Kandu, who are one in my opinion, are the only spectators watching. We are not able to change anything happening around us, nor changing the strong conditionings in ourselves, but definitely we have the power of instant changing our attitude and perspective, and rising above the mind. And this will let us experience the adventure from a higher level of consciousness and getting less involved and beaten up by it. Quote, "But even the hairs on your head are numbered." Luke 12, chapter 7. Mostly we look for the big changes in our life, but when we cannot detect and appreciate the small changes, how are we gonna go to respect and appreciate the bigger ones? I asked Morai, when everything is already written, why should I put any effort into anything? And he responded, maybe it is as well written that you have to work hard as a part of your book that is written. Maybe you just had the same question, or maybe you would question, when everything is written, how can anybody help me, or even the faculty members of the Magical University of Life for that fact? When you are reading about this information, it indicates that it was written, You are in it. It is in your book. You came across this information and it will be there to assist you. Maybe it is not to change events, but to learn to look at it all differently and to go through the challenges differently. Another important tip from Marai is to make a study of the mind and how it operates, giving us endless distractions in order to know what we are up against. Then he also emphasizes on learning more about the magical and sacred council, representing the guiding forces of Creator, universe and nature, being the keepers of matter and the balancing divanas. Learn to know their negative side and how to tune into their positive side in order to live healthy and harmonious in Crystallia. I was sent many times away from him, which was heartbreaking, but Marai told me that I have to find and be with him on the inside. I remembered traveling and living in all the corners of the universe and going through the process of letting go of all my old conditionings. I can write books about all the individuals and met all the strange places and the events. Most of all, however, I remember being alone, without friends, and oftentimes sick like a dog, going through this cleansing process on all levels and shedding my old skin. Marai had told me about this transformational process, that I needed to be turned upside down and turned inside out. Once on the path, once signed up, there is no way back. Your master will get you there, but we must do our part. Many times I forgot about him and looked again for the treasures in the world, and did let go of his guiding hand. I felt lost, and instead of connecting with him, I filled up the emptiness with socializing, eating, working, and other distractions. But then every evening, laying in my bed, I fell alone again, lost and empty-handed. This was my path, as Marai later explained to me, for I needed to be sure that peace, love and contentment could only be found inside and nowhere, anywhere in this world on the outside. But stubborn as I was, I kept looking for the things in security, in relationships, in sports, in discovering new places, power, money, possessions and many other things. And all was seemingly meant for me to be experienced, but in the end I had to look for his hand again and entering the inner path. All of this he knew before my travel started, and I cannot even be angry at myself for not being able to remind myself of him, because after all these travels, my faith in him was built on a rock. Marai at one point in time, when I was still living amongst worldly folks, and me trying to run away from my worldly obligations, that this was against the natural flow of life. Your inner strength, by doing your meditation, will help you to face your worldly obligations better, and you will deal differently with them. I also remember the times going through various struggles, trying to figure it all out by myself, forcing and controlling things. It was all exhausting, and on top, I was not getting any expected results. I had businesses with many employees and taking care of my parents. My shoulders were in pain. I was overweight and it felt like carrying the world on my shoulders. Then I made a visit to see Marai again, and he told me that as long as I thought that I could solve it all by myself, that he had no chance to help me. It all made sense to me, and I started meditating more and more. And that was the real help, and it helped me getting through the worst times of my life. The village I lived in got destroyed in a natural disaster, and I lost all my relatives and friends. And it was only through meditation and getting the help from the inside that I was able to get through it without falling apart. Shortly after this, I thought that I want to be closer to him and to be around him. And I asked if I could be his servant and chauffeur. Eventually he said yes, but in the same sentence he said that I needed to first become a better driver of my transportation device. And he meant my body and mind. And he sent me off again, back in the world, and seeing if I was fit to become his private chauffeur, the chauffeur of his golden space carriage, pulled by the white swans called Hansas. When I was around him, he played other tricks on me, and me just thinking that I had another ordinary man around me, which I was serving and often doubting. What got me the most, and is still getting me at times, that he tests my patience in every way, and I asked about it. I am just helping you out, Daironex, because you need all the patience you can get, especially when you end up meditating in the waiting realm, waiting for Kandu to open the door to the ocean of love. Where I live now. Now I live in Kausalia, also called the Upper Crystal Kingdom, in the highest of the 3 crystal mountains, located between the waiting realm and the preparation realm, close to Morai Amoro, my master. I assist here as well in the harvesting of fruits of love, incredible ornaments, which we bring anywhere in the universe. After visiting in the lower crystal kingdom one of Kalimobanko's castles of garments, taking the right bodysuit, we travel through the shadow world, overbridging time to any of our destinations. By traveling with my master, who mostly has a smile on his face, I found back the humor, which I now see in everything, which makes it easier for me to go through life. We all get too fast too serious, and life becomes stressful, and it is also for that reason that we lose that innocent child within us. Look around you and observe the faces of mankind, and you will discover that there are more sad faces than smiling ones. It is not easy for anyone to be in this world, a foreign country far away from our original home, but realizing the fact and being on the right path, why not smiling? We either go through life with a cry or a smile. Realizing that there are so few smiling faces in the world, why not be that example? Because a smile eases the pain. I have gained, or regained, better said, the power of magic, but use it in a fun way, as a magical fashion designer, which often gets me in trouble with Morai, telling me that I am taking it too far. Traveling with guests, I get a kick out matching everyone regarding the situations we are in. I love to dress everybody up in the best way possible, but at some times I dress everybody up in the opposite, and even Morai finds himself dressed up in something hilarious in my eyes. In most universes and galaxies, I have magical clothing stores and have fashion shows going on, organized by my staff. I love to dress individuals up according to their body type, as I think that most individuals have no idea how to dress themselves. My life is beautiful traveling around with my master in the entire universe and seeing love and devotion from his followers. Everywhere we go, either to bring fruits of love, visiting the many soul science centers where he gives discourses, or being busy with organizing free hospitals, health camps, free clinics, and homes for the poor and elderly, and cultivating farmlands. I just see and experience love in action. Morai is looked upon differently by different individuals. For his disciples he is the master, teacher, and for others he is a special guide, a friend, a father, or a nice, friendly, elderly giving person. Looking at the love they have for him is encouraging for me to meditate more, because that's the only place I can cultivate that love for him and Kandu. My dream, as I stated before, is to become like Morai, and whilst being his disciple and following his instructions, I try to accommodate him in every way. To serve the Master is a 24-hour job. There are no breaks or vacations, and the soul within will only find rest until it has merged with Him and has returned to Kandu's ocean of love. I hoped you liked the little insight of my story, but now all about of you. Maybe one day you find your spiritual master and you become a true disciple, but before this all possible takes place, you need to listen and to follow many other teachers, masters and guides in your day-to-day life, and of course the members of the magical or sacred council, who are as well teachers and guides. Try to learn from any teacher as much as possible. How I can help you in your life. Quote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Lao Tzu. End of quote. Many times you do not like that others tell you what to do, and you would want to tell them what to do. You would want them to listen to you so you feel in command, you being the leader and the boss. I am Daironex, the guiding force of the disciple within you, and let me tell you that I have had the same feeling. So pay attention to what I have to share with you, and it will make your life, while maturing, much easier. Realize the two sides of me. Never forget that there are two sides of me and my guiding force. Through my energy, you can be a good listener and follower, or you do the opposite. But as long as you are busy with improving by following or wanting to do even better than any of your teachers, you are on the right track. At times you're full of enthusiasm, and other times it feels like a drag. This is part of the learning adventure, as long as you keep going. Learn to follow to become a leader. In order to become a good leader, one must learn first to follow the instructions of someone else. Especially when you are young, learn to use your ears instead of using your tongue. To save time and struggle, listen and follow at home and at school. And instead of having to listen twice or more times, pay attention and listen the first time. When you pay attention the first time, you get the information and you do not have to study it after school. This principle works with everything you need and would like to learn. You are too young to be in command, but it is your time in life to gather as much information as possible so you can help yourself later in life. And remember, you gather the most by listening and following. Listen to your teachers. As long as you do not have your own home, your own children, your own business, you have no other choice than to follow, to listen. And when you do this in an easy way, you make it not easy for yourself, but also for others. Maybe you do not like the way they tell you how to do things, but I can tell you, when you make it easier for them, they slowly make it easier for you, because there will be no fights. Learn to listen and follow is my motto. Follow the instructions of your parents, follow the instructions of your teachers, and also follow anybody who has some more experience than you. Be grateful and show your respect. Here is a simple test to see if you are a good listener and follower. Your parent, teacher, educator, or mentor tells you or asks you something. When you pay attention, listen, follow, and act, you learn and show respect. When what is being communicated has to be repeated for the second time, it means you are not paying attention and you do not show respect. When the information needs to be repeated for the third time, it means you don't care. Here is where you run into trouble, but which was not necessary when you would have listened the first time. From having to wanting. As long as you think that others are forcing you to listen and forcing you to follow them, you are already one step too late. It is your time in your life to learn as much as possible. And when you see this as an opportunity, you will want to learn to follow and listen, and by doing so, have everybody off your back. As long as you think that you have to, your educational process will be painful. But when you want to come from your inside, all will be an easy ride. Who is a real teacher? Each great teacher you follow wants that you become better than them. And this can be in reading, writing, cleaning, sports, arts and crafts, and many other subjects you need to learn. I know it is not all easy, but this is the part of your adventure, growing up and learning. And never forget that possibly the older people have more experience, might know more, and for the moment just follow and learn from them. Everything one step at a time. At times it may feel that your teachers are so far ahead of you, but they got there as well by taking it one step at a time and never giving up. Everybody learns at his or her pace, but do it with all your effort. Give it everything you have, and you will never have to regret anything. The company you have. The people you hang out with in life have a big influence upon you, and this counts as well how you do that with occupying your time. This is a form of company as well. Yes, the TV, your cell phone, the computer, the games, they can be your company. Surround yourself with positive-minded individuals and it will rub off on you to become and stay positive. When you spend time with negative-minded individuals, know that the negative side will become dominant in your life. Occupy your time with positive things and you will stay positive. But when you watch violent and play violent games, know that this one day will be standing before you. So watch who and what you follow. Obey rules and regulations. Everywhere there are rules and regulations, spoken or unspoken, written or not. From being at your home, at school, in other people's homes, traffic regulations, behavior laws, and of course the laws of universe and nature. Find out about them in order not to go against them, or having to pay the price by being ignorant. Some rules you may not agree with, but at your age you probably do the best by just obeying them. Here again I emphasize on learning from the Magical and Sacred Council at the Magical University of Life, as they all reveal parts of a manual how to live in Crystallia the Creation. Everything is a teacher. Realize that anything that happens in your life can be a teacher, like hurting yourself, pain and illness, conflicts, challenges and hard things to swallow. You can learn from all these things, and hopefully you try to do things different, so you are not again confronted with them, or you learn to go through the experience differently the next time. The tough teachers. In general, looking back later in your life, you will understand that the toughest situations and the toughest teachers brought you the most. Either you learned everything from them, or you had to go the opposite direction and find the other side. To give you an example, imagine an older person who in your eyes does wrong and not the right things. You might not pick up and learn from that behavior, but you want to go the other side. You want to take another approach, and that is also a teacher. Watch out for tricky teachers. I just mentioned that everything can be a teacher, but you have to watch out for the tricky ones. What you read and hear at the news and in advertisement may not be good for you to follow and listen to. We get easily deceived by appearance, by seeing smiling individuals while drinking and smoking. Be on guard. The media tells us what we need to have to be happy, and that we need to have certain things. And many friends will bite into this lie as well. You all do not have to have the latest gadgets on the market, or that fancy bike, and so on. The money industry tries to influence young children about almost anything they can get money on. And it is for you to be strong not to fall for the tricks that can bind you for a lifetime, like getting addicted to games and sugars and fast foods. Ever noticed all the not healthy stuff even being advertised in the world of sports? The money industry wants to have the power of making more money, and they do everything so we follow, and they play the best tricks on children. Spiritual masters and their teachings. Under the guidance of my spiritual master, I became aware never to judge any other spiritual master, teacher, and teachings, or any of their followers. I do not indicate to others that my master is the only real and true master, although he is that for me. I do not imply to others that the path I am following is the only path, although I think it is, but still have to prove that to myself. And who am I to say that there are no other roads? I do not see any use in intellectual and ego fights, and do not try to convert anybody to my belief. I keep it all to myself and spend that energy on my inner path and meditation. And when somebody is interested in my master or path, I tell them to make a thorough investigation and tell them to resist as long as possible. For once on the path, it is a minute-to-minute path. Otherwise, it's not walking the path, but just a belief and a concept. He told me to be a real schooler, and that is exactly to do what the teachers tell you to do, and to study the teachings in every detail. It is integrating the path in every detail and aspect of your life, and this is a scientific project for a lifetime. It is from believing to proving things to yourself and spending as much time as you have in your so-called inner church, inside your body, which has been referred to as the temple of the living God. The other temples or churches are the reminders to go inside the real church and temple. Inside this church and temple you meditate or you silently pray, so to speak. This method was explained by my teacher and master, Morai, when he accepted me as his pupil, student and disciple. To me he gave 5 names to repeat that would be the key to distract the mind who is always thinking about something. This was the antidote and is the antidote, and this was to be done 2.5 hours daily, early in the morning, while sitting quietly without any distracting noises around me. I was to keep the faculty of the mind of thoughts occupied with these 5 names. In addition, I would visualize Morai to occupy the faculty of visualization, what the mind also does. It was the easiest thing ever explained to me, but the most difficult to do. Kalimbobanko, the mind, even though knowing he is going to lose that soul, will do everything to distract you. Morai advised me also to repeat these names during the day when my mind was free of worldly obligation, and called it a walking meditation. I thought about this and realized that Kalimbobanko had not spoken about this because he probably felt too proud, because basically Morai, by giving me these names, was using the capacity of mind to get me out from the mind. However, I knew I had to be ready for this battle between the meditation and the mind. As far as I understood, these names were passwords, so to speak, to enter and go through the inner dimensions, and Morai explained that one could easily get distracted as well in those inner worlds, as they are more beautiful than the world around me. he made me aware that those inner worlds were still part of the world of mind and matter, although of a finer substance. However, when I wanted to find out who I really am and about Kandu, the creator and the ocean of love, I needed to stay steadfast and not get distracted or getting stranded in those realities. To stay fit and sharp to do this all, he told me to change my lifestyle. And together with being busy with meditation, I became a vegetarian. To not go deeper in debt by Kalimobanko, for we all know by now that we have to pay for everything in the domain of the mind. A lighter load, because even consuming fruits, grains and vegetables has a price, eating animals was connected with having to pay a higher price and carrying a heavier load, and weakening the body and mind. It was also to stay away from alcohol, drugs and tobacco that are weakening the sharpness of the mind that needs to stay clear and focused. Last but not least, I needed to live a moral life, and that would be as well an adventure on its own, and constantly improving on being moral. The more I sat for meditation, the more I understood what was being moral, which extends itself in every detail of life. As Morai's disciple, I try to do my very best, and that's what he wants. The School of Life. Life is an ongoing education, because I can learn from each moment and every situation. It is a magical school in disguise, in which I can become old and wise. Some questions. Explain in your own words what Daironex represents. Do you follow and listen most of the time? When not, know that you are missing a lot. Do you know that there are visible and invisible rules everywhere? Do you know that most pains and troubles is chosen by yourself, but that we can go better through them by accepting them and adapting to the situations and making the best out of it? Who do you want to be like? And will this benefit you and the world at large?